So today we have our equations test review. It says solve the following equations, show your work, and verify your answer. So verify our answer just means we're going to plug it in to check that it's correct. Please make sure your name is on your paper and that you're putting what period class this is. Alright, now what I would love for you to do with this video is use it as a help. So I want you to work out the problem and then play it to see what the answer is and how to do it and see if you're following the steps correctly. So as you're using this video, it should be a pausing, working it out, play it to check your answer, pause, work out the next one, play it to check your answer. Okay? Here we go. Number 1 says x minus 1/4 is equal to 1/4. Okay? You should be thinking automatically, I need to do the opposite of subtracting 1/4. So you're going to add 1/4 on this side and add 1/4 on this side. Don't freak out because they're fractions. These cancel out. You're left with x is equal to, the denominators are the same, so I can go ahead and add the numerator, 2/4. You could simplify it to 1/2 or leave it as it is. Okay? Now pause the video to answer number 2. Now that you've completed number 2, you should have thought, oh, -4 next to d means that I'm multiplying. I have to do the opposite, which is to divide. Divide both sides by -4. In your calculator, you should have put 56 divided by 4 and then the negative sign so that you get the correct answer, which is -14 equals d. Correct anything that's incorrect, pause the video, and work on number 3. You should have noticed first off that this bar means to divide. The opposite of dividing is to multiply. So you're going to multiply both sides by -2. These cancel out. You're left with b is equal to -8 times -2. My answer is going to be positive. Okay, it's going to be positive 16. Check your work. Now pause the video and complete number 4. Problem number 4 is a 2-step problem. We've talked about unwrapping the package. You know, you wrap a present, you put the paper on, then the tape the paper on, put your ribbon on, put the bow on the top, and when you unwrap it, you go in that order but backwards. So I'm going to take a look at my constant. This 7 is just dangling out over here. You should have noticed that it's adding 7, so you're going to subtract 7 from both sides. These cancel out. You're left with 6a is equal to, if I have 1 and I'm taking away 7, that puts me at -6. This should look familiar. When my number and my variable are next to each other, that means to divide because they're multiplying. So we'll divide both sides by 6. These cancel. I'm left with a equals -1. Please don't forget that a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Check your work. Go ahead and pause the video and begin working on number 5. Problem number 5, we see we have our constant here, which is +6. We're adding 6. The opposite of that is subtracting. So you should have subtracted 6 from both sides. They cancel out. You have -8x is equal to, you have 118 minus 6, which puts us at 112. This begins to look familiar. We got to get rid of that -8 by dividing on both sides. These cancel. I'm left with x is equal to, and I'm going to my calculator, 112 divided by 8, then the negative sign is equal to -14. Check your work, make any corrections. Now pause the video to complete number 6. Now I'm going to know if you're just copying it down, because when you take the test, you're probably not going to do so well. So please take the time to work it out. Even if you get it wrong, you can always correct it. Okay? On this one I see I have a -6 as my constant. So I need to add 6 to both sides. These cancel out, so I'm left with x divided by 2, -8 plus 6 is a -2. Now this is a little different. X divided by 2, so I need to multiply by 2 on both sides to cancel them out. 2 times -2 is -4. Check your work, make corrections. Think about, I messed up here. This is what I should have done. Alrighty. Now the next word problem, I'm gonna zoom out. It won't let me zoom out while I'm recording, so I'm gonna just slide the paper over as we take a look at it, okay? So the first thing I do is read it. A mechanic charges $50 to inspect your vehicle. So that means it's costing me $50 for the guy to look at it. He also charges $10 for each hour that he works. Oh, so I'm going to pay him $50. See, $50 just to look at it. And then, as he's working on it, $10 for each hour that he's working on it. The mechanic, charges you a total of $190. So we're going to write an equation. Okay? I know that right off the bat, when I pull my car into the mechanic's shop, I have to pay him $50. I just know that. Okay? That's just a given. And I have to add that to the cost, because it says here, he also charges $10 for each hour. Do I know how many hours? Nope, not yet. I'm going to use H as my variable for hours. So I think $10 for each hour. Counting by groups, adding up groups, that's multiplication. So 10H. This is just to drive up on the lot for him to look at it. Then for him to fix it, it's $10 an hour. And he charged me a total. See total right here? Total means equal or final answer. Okay? So a total of $190. I was supposed to write an equation. Does it have an equal sign? Yes. There's my variable. I've included all the numbers, the 50, the 10, and the 190. So I've covered all my bases. This equation is complete. This is something I could work out. And guess what? Part B says, how many hours does the mechanic work on your vehicle? Solve the equation. I'm going to rewrite it here, and I'm going to take off the dollar signs just so they don't get in my way. Sometimes they can be distracting. But I know my answer is going to be in hours anyways, so I don't need dollars to represent the hours. Okay, where's my constant? My constant is 50. We're going to subtract 50 from both sides. I'm left with 10H is equal to 0 minus 0 is 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. Then the 1 comes down. So I have 10h is equal to 140. This looks familiar. They're being multiplied. So let's go ahead and do the opposite or inverse operation, which is divide. 10 and 10 cancel out. I'm left with h. So this is going to tell me how many hours. If you need to, you can put this in your calculator. 140 divided by 10. If you'd like, you can do the zero trick. These zeros can cancel out, and I'm left with 14 over 1, which is the same as 14. So how many hours did the mechanic work on the vehicle? A total of 14 hours. Okay, so you could leave it as h equals 14, or you could actually write out 14 hours. If you wanted to box it so we know where to find the answer. You're going to have a problem very similar to this on your test. It's just going to have different numbers to use. Okay? So pay attention. I would re-watch this if you need to, so you can be familiar with how to create the equation. Let's flip it over. I'm going to read the problem, and I want you to think about what parts of the equation do we have, and I want you to try to write an equation first, and then I will tell you how I would write it, and you'll see if you're similar or not. A taxi charges $2.50 plus a fee. So they charge $2.50 plus a fee of 25 cents for each mile traveled. Okay, so every mile I have to pay another 25 cents. The total cost without a tip, because generally you tip the taxi. We don't do a lot of taxis here in Middleburg, but in busy cities, you might use an Uber or something. So the total cost without a tip is $10.50. Oh, I see that word total. The total is, these two words right here, total and is, always make me think of the equal sign. It's telling me to write an equation. So you see the number's $2.50, 25 cents for each mile, and the total cost of the trip without a tip is $10.50. So think about what numbers you need. You can pause it, pause the movie, write out your equation. Okay, now let's check what you have. So just to get into the taxi, it's $2.50. Then for each mile, I'm going to use M to represent for each mile. So added to this, just to get in the taxi, I have to pay 25 cents for each mile. That's multiplication here, because I'm adding groups of the same thing. For each mile, I have to add another 25 cents. And it's the whole trip totaled, or is equal to $10.50. Okay, did you come up with that equation? Maybe you had 25 cents times n in the beginning, but you know that I really like to write it as I read it. So I came to this number first, 250 plus, plus. See, that lets me know I'm adding. Okay, you can write it down as you read it. You're going to have a similar problem to this, just with different numbers on the test. So now part B, write an equation. I have all of my numbers included. I have an equal sign and a variable representing that missing number, which is how many miles did we travel. Part B says, how many miles is the trip? I want you to rewrite it down here without the money signs. Make sure you remember your decimals. Even though there's decimals, but they're not going to scare us because we can use our calculator. Pause the video to answer the question. Okay, you've had time to work this out. Let's go ahead. I'm going to solve it and you check your work. So my constant over here is $2.50. I'm going to subtract that first from both sides. These cancel. I'm left with 25 cents times M is equal to, so 50 cents, those cancel, right? 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. 10 minus 2 is 8. So I've got $8. Looking familiar here, we're multiplying, so that means I need to divide. Please remember you're dividing by a decimal, so don't forget that decimal. And I'm writing my 0 in front of the decimal because my sister's a nurse and she said you got to do that, and Buzz Math likes it like that, and so does iReady. So we're going to make sure we hold our place right there in the ones place. Okay, you should have used your calculator, or you could count because this is quarters. How many quarters would make $8? So 8 divided by 0.25, and that's 32, right? Because 4 quarters make $1. There's $8, so 4 times 8 is 32. So how many miles? 32 miles. You could leave it as M is equal to 32, or write out 32 miles. And put a little box around it. Excellent. Now, if you got the equation right, but you messed up over here with decimals, don't freak out. Just remember, put it in the calculator exactly as you see it, okay? Now, we've got 2 more problems. I'm going to give you a hint, and then I want you to get going on it by pausing the video. Okay, so number 9. You need to distribute first. Okay? You're solving for x. So pause the video, work it out, and then turn it on to check your answer. Okay guys, 8 times 4x is 32x. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Then it's equal to negative 24. I've distributed. I'm going to try to combine like terms, but there's nothing over here to combine. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of, look at how that's set up like that. Uh-oh. Let's work it anyways. We're going to add 24 to both sides, which gets us 32x is equal to 0. Yo. What's our next step? Well, this means to divide. Yo. These cancel out. So x is equal to 0. That's funky. But that's okay. I didn't make this number up, so we'll just go with it, okay? Sometimes your answer will be 0. Now, go ahead and work on the last problem. Problem number 10. It looks funky funk. Here's your hint. Make sure you pay attention as you distribute to those negative signs. Do not distribute to that negative 3. It's not in the parentheses. Pause the video, work it out. When you're finished, turn it back on to check your answer. Alrighty, so we're going to distribute negative 7 times negative 64 is a positive 42x. Negative 7 times negative 7 is a positive 49. That negative 3 just hangs out, and then we have our 46 over here. Okay, I've distributed. Now I need to combine like terms. Is there anything on this side that I could combine? Yeah, you should have said 49 and negative 3 get you what? So 49 minus 3, you got 46. You could have said, oh, 9 minus 3 is 6, so 46. That's totally fine, but if you want to double check, use your calculator. It's okay. That's what it's for. So this is a positive 46, and 42x is equal to 46. Oh my cow. They did it again. Look at this. If I subtract 46 here and I subtract 46 here, what's going to happen? They cancel. Okay. Divide by 42. These cancel. So we're left with x is equal to 0 again. That's the bell. That means it's the end of the day. So, check your work. I believe on the test it won't always equal 0. Okay, guys? But if you're following the steps, you'll do just fine.